Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome along to the SFC interviews here with former Stevenage midfielder Matt Ball today. So, how's things, Matt?
Yeah, not bad. Obviously, not doing much like everyone, but on the other side, trying to do as much as possible, really, to keep myself busy, keep my mind active.
Absolutely, everyone needs that at the moment, and that's why I've created this channel really as well, to have just these sort of conversations really with players that have played for the club. You know, whether it's somebody that's played 50, 500, 1, 2, doesn't really matter. Yeah. So,
yeah.
But of course,
happy to be on board.
Of course, we'll have a little look here now. What was it like? Obviously, joining up with Stevenage on the back of your dad having already played for the club as well.
Well, I'm from Welling myself, so Stevenage was always a local club. Dad always tells me about how he used to play for Stevenage, but I think that was in the lower levels. And I got released by Norwich at 19, and my agent had sorted me out to go in at Stevenage because it was local. I'd lived away from home since I was 16 and went in there and was on trial for a couple of weeks. I remember it. We were wearing these bright red strips. They must have been Stevenage kits from about 20 years ago. They didn't even have the badge on it. There was a few of us trying this wearing it and really stuck out. Ended up playing a game at Eastbourne Boro. And Gary Smith literally said to me after the game, "Yeah, look, we want to sign you straight away." So that was it, really.
And of course, you mentioned Gary Smith there as well, who was in charge at the time. So, what was he like as a manager, and what were his sort of styles like? They're the kind of styles that you enjoyed.
Really have nothing bad to say about Gary Smith whatsoever. He was really, really good. Really liked his coaching style, his man-to-man management, how he got the lads together. I thought was really, really good. And I was quite surprised at Stevenage's approach in getting rid of him, because I think it was at Christmas, and we all had a bit of a laugh and joke about it, because we were second at Christmas, or by our Christmas do, and then it all went downhill from there after the Christmas do. But his coaching was all about getting on the ball, passing, and I think it was quite different for Stevenage because they were used to the, let's say, Graham Wesley tactics. And when it did, let's say, them start, the bad run started, I think they jumped the gun, really. So I think they were in a good place. They were still mid-table in League One. And I'm thankful for Gary for bringing me in. He didn't play me. I think I sat on the bench for about 20 odd games. But I think I was still only 19. So to trust someone and you had Dunny and Granty playing quite well. So I couldn't really. Yeah. Obviously, I still wanted to play, but I thought and I think since he's left, the club haven't gone any higher.
Okay, it makes sense. Yeah.
That's my thoughts, really.
Okay, and of course, what were the conversations like with your dad in regards to joining up with Stevenage? Was it something that he was, encouraging you to do?
I'm trying to remember now. I actually had, because I'd been on the bench in the Championship at 17 for Norwich. They were in the Premier League now, and that was the reason I got released, because I wasn't a Premier League player at that time, and Paul Lambert said that to me. And the decision I made, me and my dad spoke about, was, do I want to go and play and it was under 21s football at the time, or do I want to go and try and play Football League? And in hindsight now, I should have gone and played under 21s football. But Stevenage being local, was the first club I went in straight the first day of pre-season, was there for a couple of weeks. And I actually didn't get picked for the first pre-season game against Boro Wood.
That's right, yeah.
And I went in and I actually said to Gary Smith, "Look, Gary, I can't wait because I need to get signed up. Like I had probably 9 or 10 other options at the time to go on trial at. And I think it sort of alluded to me. He was like, no, look, you can play on Tuesday at Eastbourne. And I said, all right, fine, look, I'll wait about for that. And then literally, like I said, I played 60 minutes and he signed me straight away. And it was in the hope that I'd go and play League One football. Right. It didn't materialise to that, but that was the thoughts behind it. It's close to home. I'd been away from home since, a young age, living with, in digs. And it was just about, okay, going and playing. And, when you look back at things and you've always got, hindsight's a great thing. Was it the right decision? Probably not. At the time, we thought it was. So...
Okay, and then so you made your debut for Stevenage, replacing Max Amar in a 3-0 defeat by Swindon. But what was that like, just to be a part of that matchday squad?
Like, I was actually quite used to it because I had been on the bench for about 20 odd games. I think I don't know the actual, but I was always around it. But I always felt, because I think it was the first season 7 subs had been introduced to the league. Right.
Okay.
I always felt like I was that 6th or 7th sub.
Yeah.
And even though we were doing well, we were never winning games 3-0 or, being quite comfortable. It was always 1-0, 2-1s. So I never got the chance to go on. And then Graham Wesley came in, and I think I'd been out on loan at Farnborough just to get some games. And I just went into his office and said, I've got to be playing. I said, well, why am I not playing? Sort of, like, in a good way. I wasn't, you can't really go and do that to Graham Wesley. But I think it sort of pricked his attention. Okay, look, we're getting to the end of the season. We are now mid-table.
Yeah.
And for me, obviously, it was my league debut. And it was at Swindon where I think there was like 10,000 fans there that day. So I actually came on. We were down to 10 men, 3-0 down. But I think I actually done quite well for the 10, 15 minutes I was on. And I remembered sort of like even the Stevenage Twitter account saying like, bad day at the office, but some exciting signs from Matt Ball, and it was like, yeah, I've now achieved a lifelong dream, which it was in playing in professional football game. And then I'd done well enough in that 10, 15 minutes for Graham Wesley to then give me a start in the last game of the season against MK Dons. I think Bamford was playing for MK Dons that day. Chuck Saniki, maybe, I played against growing up when he was at Arsenal. I remember getting a chance, I think about 10 minutes in, because I was buzzing around the first 20 minutes. I thought it was unbelievable. And I should have scored. I think it was a 1-on-1, and the keeper saved it.
Yeah.
And you look back at those things and think, what if that gone in? Does that change it? And then I got sort of had to recover from the first 20 minutes just running around like a headless chicken. And I still thought, I'd done well that game. I'd done enough. I think I played 60, 70 minutes. But it was the end of the season. It was mid-season. And then that was it, really. It was my only 2 games.
But, of course, it's... not just your dad that is part of the footballing family that you're from as well. Of course, Dom is at QPR in the Championship, and of course, how's Dom getting on? And of course, were you always sort of a footballing family growing up? Did you and Dom used to go and have kickabouts? Did you used to play for the school teams and local teams and things like that?
Yeah, we my dad was obviously big into his football. My mum now has to be, but we there's me, Dom's a couple of years younger, and then my younger brother Phil's like 5 years younger than me. So we're all in that sort of having a kickabout stage, beating each other up, whatever it was. Played for the local team, Welling Pegasus, all of us. And I'm actually Dom's agent moving
forward. All right.
I've got into the agency world because seeing Dom's handling of agents has always been quite, an insight into how it works. And I wanted to change a career during the lockdown. And so I do a lot of work with him anyway. We go over his games, what he can improve on, what he can get better at, what he's doing well. And he takes it all on board, because I can be sort of super critical, but only from like a good perspective, not to sort of hammer him, but just
always coming from a constructive angle. Yeah.
Trying to make him a better player, because it is a short career, and he, and he's open to it, and he likes learning, which is easy. It's not like I say, oh, you can do this better, and he goes, we argue. We never argue about it. We sort of both come at it and look at it and try and improve it, and we both really enjoy it, and we get something from it. I obviously enjoy helping my brother, try and reach his potential, and I do feel that he could play in the Premier League. And that's a goal. That's a goal and a target for him. So if I can help him do that, basically do everything that I don't do, then I'd be more than proud.
Okay, and let's have a little look at what we've got to cover on here. Some of the players that you played alongside in your time at Stevenage, of course, Mark Roberts was there, and he was captain at that time. But there was, of course, Luke Freeman there as well, and you were, in that midfield with Luke Freeman, and of course you would have seen firsthand in training and things like that about how good Luke was. And when did you know that he'd be able to go on and be sort of the kind of player that he is now?
I got on really well with Luke. There was me, Luke, and Mike Falasitis. We were the three youngsters of the group. And it was just us three, the trio. It was sort of us always hanging around together, always doing bits together, extra training. And Luke was already in there. He was a top player. You could see that. When I first came in, it wasn't actually his best season. He then went away and worked really, really hard in the summer. So he sort of did, and he probably wouldn't mind me saying this, he had a little bit of a belly. And then went away in pre-season the year that Graham Wesley came back, and he smashed all the fitness tests out the park and really, really kicked on. And that was just, just from him having a look at himself going, he's at a level, how can he get to the next level? And he went and put that work in over the summer. And we could all see it, seeing him firsthand. It was just like, I think he cut out having a bottle of Coke a day. Which you can get into these bad habits, whatever it may be. He cut that out, and he came back with a six-pack, which we hadn't seen in a while. And he kicked on, and he got his moves that his quality, deserved. And I still speak to him, not as much now, but still every now and again, just keeping tabs. And seeing him move to the Premier League after what he'd done at QPR wasn't a surprise either.
Okay, and of course, you mentioned there Mike Falasitis as well, and of course, it was such a devastated sort of shame of what happened with him, of course, with the direction that his career went in, and of course, he went on to Love Island, didn't he? And then, of course, on the back of that, he took his own life. So, what were your sort of thoughts in regards to Mike Falasitis at that time, and of course, playing alongside him and knowing him as well?
When I saw the news come out, I was completely devastated, like gutted, because I just couldn't see it from the outset. We obviously weren't as close then to what we were, but when we were playing together, and when I say that sort of it was us three, Luke was always pushed ahead. He was always ahead of us, so me and Falla went on loans, at the same time. We would go and sit in the jacuzzi at David Lloyd's for 2 hours, 3 hours on end, play stupid games. We'd have a race from the training ground in our car to get to David Lloyd's, and we built up that relationship that was, you needed, because we needed support at that time, because Stevenage isn't a big club. So we didn't have people checking in on us every day when we were on loan, seeing how we were developing, what else was going on in our off-field life, and so we sort of relied on each other, helping each other out, and we still spoke, quite a lot, even up until obviously passed away, which it was just tough to take, because we weren't as close, and you do look at yourself and go, oh, could I have seen anything, or could I have helped, and which probably couldn't have. You don't know, but to have been that close with someone, to see that happen, it is tough, and makes you realise what more you can do to help anyone you may know, to just try and communicate as much as possible. And you can't put it into words, someone that you've played with, that happening to. And he was, to people that maybe only saw him on Love Island or whatever, he might have been a bit arrogant, a bit cocky, but he wasn't. Like, he was the softest guy ever. Like, he was so nice, soft, and he always wanted to help, and he had time for everyone. So, and you don't know what happens in social media and the media that does make it tough for people. And I wish maybe that we had have been in more conversations then, because it would relate to speaking to people that you've had relationships with from a younger age. You can maybe relate to. So I was just gutted, really, really gutted.
And of course, we'll bring it back onto Stevenage and your time at the club a little bit and things like that. Of course, we mentioned in regards to Mark Roberts as well, who was captain at the time. What was Robbo like, of course, as a leader as well?
I thought Boro was a really, really good captain, like real leader, real Stevenage man. Like, obviously, for what he'd done at the club. I think when I was there and Gary Smith was there, Robbo was. I don't think he adapted as well to maybe the freedom of having Gary Smith as a manager, because the players sort of we'd turn up, we'd train, we'd do our work, have our laughs, and we'd go home. With Graham Wesley, it was a bit more like sort of being in the army. So, but I got on really, really well with Robbo. He was a very good captain, a good servant, and was just dedicated to his profession, which is, something you don't see that often. And why he has been successful is because of his dedication. And I don't speak to Robbo anymore, but I follow him on, like LinkedIn and stuff like that, and doing his master's degree, his mentoring programs. You can see why he's successful, because he's just a driven personality. And I like seeing that. I like sort of, being involved with them sort of people, because they get up every morning, they work hard at what they do. Yeah. And it's not about getting their reward that day or that week. It's, at the end of the season. Sorry, guys, not COVID. Just need a water.
That's all right, mate.
Haven't spoken this much in a while.
It's all right. Just take your time, mate. Let's grab a drink. Yeah.
So no, Robbo was a very, very good captain. Did he fit into Gary Smith's sort of way of thinking? Probably not. Because he was moulded by Graham Wesley, and as you did see, there was a major overhaul that first season. So the ones that did before weren't there anymore. Sort of there were only a few. Him, John Ashton, Lukey was obviously there for a bit, but I don't Shruti a tiny bit. But there wasn't that many left. Gary Smith brought in a load of new players. And we all gelled fantastically. We had a great team spirit. I think we actually called ourselves the enjoyment team.
Oh, really?
We just enjoyed being in each other's company, and enjoying team nights out, team team meals. We always had a laugh, and everyone got on really well together. Mm-hmm. And everyone bought into that.
And that's great when you've got everyone sort of singing off the same hymn sheet, and just kind of wanting to do the very best that you can for not just yourselves, but for each other as well, and to really put it's a group of mates, really, isn't it? It's you want to put the best sort of foot forward on the pitch for your mates. Yeah, and that was obviously reciprocated on the pitch, because I think we were second at Christmas, and. Yeah. It wasn't out of us being the best team or anything like that. We had a very good team spirit, and it was all built on the management's team. They trusted us, and I'm not saying Graham Wesley's methods don't work, because they did to get to a certain level, but to get from League One to
the Championship, I think you need a different sort of level. And
that's true, yeah.
We were on that trajectory, but it didn't last, unfortunately.
We've got a question here from Giggsy as well. Is there a sort of special routine or any superstitions that you do before big games?
Well, I don't really have any big games anymore. I'm only playing in non-league. But I'm not a superstitious person at all. I've tried all of them.
None of
them really worked for me. I don't believe in that. I now just try and prepare for any game, the same. So,
Yeah. And of course, you mentioned in regards to Robbo earlier, and of course, I've seen on his LinkedIn as well. I've actually interviewed and spoke to Robbo, and he's great at, not just the physical side, but getting the mentality and the mental side of it right as well.
It's the biggest part of the game. I think, my brother wouldn't even mind me saying this, is that I was the best player out of both us two.
Right.
I always got told, yes, you're a great player. Yes, we'll give you a new contract. Yes, until that first no. Not since the age, until 19, I got yeses, yeses, yeses. Mm-hmm. And I then got to that age and thought I'd made it. I thought, this is it. And unfortunately for me, my mentality from then onwards wasn't the best as what it could be. I wasn't maybe strong enough mentally, whereas my brother is, very, very mentally dedicated and strong, and that's why he's got to where he has now. He got released at Watford at 16, didn't get his pro contract at Spurs, had to work, extra hard to then get it, and he's always had to work hard for that. And now he's playing week in, week out in the Championship. And I think you do see that, touching back on Falla. Falla wasn't the strongest mentally. Luke Freeman was quite strong mentally, was dedicated. And I see a lot of players and a lot of friends, and you look at them now that didn't make it, but were better players. But that reason is, you have the four corners, technical, tactical, physical, and mental. And I think the mental side of the game, and it's getting, a lot bigger now. It's all social media now. Players have to be mentally strong, and it is a massive, massive part of the game. Because all you fans hammer the players after the game, so.
And of course, you said it there in regards to the social media. I don't know if you know much about Joel Byram. Of course, Joel Byram played for the club, and he was very big. He actually put a post out on his social media because he does sort of media stuff as well as, he played for the club, and he was quite big into the media stuff at the time as well, and kind of putting that out there in regards to the impact that the fans can have, sort of positive and negative on players going for, moving forward.
100%. I think the social media and media drive everything. You can look at it with the COVID situation at the moment. The minute the papers all say that there's loads of COVID going around, that gets reciprocated into the people. In the summer, when there wasn't as much, the media let everyone know, and it's exactly the same as social media. When a player logs onto it and they get loads of abuse, they're obviously going to be down and let it affect them. If they see loads of positivity, they're going to be positive and think well of themselves. I remember Dom played for Aberdeen one game, and someone took a picture of a horse poo and posted it and tagged him in it and said, this is what Dom Ball looks like, or this was better than Dom Ball today. And you can laugh it off. 100%, you can laugh it off, and players deal with it differently. Yeah. But there has to become a limit. Everyone, I don't go to work, you don't go to work to be slagged off, if you do something wrong. You don't mean to. You also don't expect if you do something right that you get heaps and heaps of praise. Mm-hmm. You just want it to be balanced. And, everything you see at the moment, people just seem to, want to hide behind, a fake picture or whatever, just like, and have the balls to come out and just say it if you want to say it, but don't hide behind a picture. But if you are a fan of a club or a sports person, whoever it may be, that you just got to look at yourself and go, if this was me, would I like that being said to myself about my work?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
If I wouldn't, then fine. Don't say it. But the encouragement is great. Criticism is needed, but let's just be sensible about it. Let's not just hammer someone. They don't mean to make a mistake. None of us mean to make a mistake. And if that can then, you see a lot of when teams are losing the negativity. If the fans can try and build up positively, I'd bet my bottom dollar that that would pick up around the players, and that would build positivity, in the team. If the team keeps on, getting hammered, they probably won't want to play for the badge, and that's just being honest. So you just have a negative effect both ways.
That's fair enough. It's a great, way of analysing it and putting it as well. That as I said before, the fans can really be that 12th man that can push clubs on, and take Stevenage right now, for example, the precarious position that they're in, sort of just above the relegation zone. Of course, fans aren't allowed into the grounds at the moment because of COVID restrictions and everything like that. And of course, hopefully, sooner rather than later, that will change again. But these fans, when they get back in, they have to use all this positive energy to kind of help the players that, whatever players they are, whatever players that are there on show, to really push on and kind of, especially clubs like Stevenage and the level that Stevenage are at. And, the fact that Stevenage are, a sort of lower-ended club, League Two club that are competing against the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham, and all of those sort of local London clubs, and even Watford and teams like that as well.
Yeah, when fans get in, and you see it a lot at non-league level. When we play normal games, there's not a lot of fans there. When we get to a good FA Cup run or a good FA Trophy run, all the fans seem to turn up, and then you get the shocks, don't you? You get the smaller teams beating the bigger teams because they've got the fans there and behind them. And it's no surprise that happens because people get themselves up for big games. And if the fans are behind them, they're going to perform better. If the fans are booing, it's just going to negatively affect them. And it's really not rocket science. And I don't get it myself because look, I'm a football fan. I support Man United, but I love football. And I watch all sort of games. And you can criticise, but it's how you do it. And when you're at a game, by shouting, F you and F you, if I heard that, I'd probably laugh. But some players, it may take a negative effect, and then they may make a mistake and your team loses 1-0. So I'm all for positivity and driving that, throughout the club and throughout the fans. And look, of course, that comes from the top. That comes right from any club CEO, chairman, how they can drive that through to the players, to the fans base, to the community. And I think what Stevenage were doing with the food parcels was excellent, and driving that positivity for the Burger King drive that through. Okay, and how can you then establish the club? Because you say Stevenage are a low table team. For me, I don't understand why they're not higher up. Why are they not? Because they have been in League One and they were in the playoffs in League One. Why are they still not there?
Yeah, obviously, I don't mean that Stevenage are a low team. I mean they're low compared to those teams that I've mentioned. But of course, Stevenage, were on the verge of promotion to the Championship at one stage under Gary Smith, and then it could be a completely different story. Look at Sheffield United, who we played in that semi-final, where they are now. Yeah,
and I think that the Stevenage do have to live within their means, 100%. But I just see the training facilities are fantastic, like really, really good. The stadium's getting better. We're seeing that, and it can now grow into a club. And the thing is, you are competing against the likes of the big teams that you mentioned, but you're also in a very good catchment area.
True. Yeah.
Like, you have a lot of the population in that area, so it's to be able to use that to move forwards. And I have no reason I can think of why Stevenage shouldn't be an established League One club. And I'm sure that they're aiming for that and a steady progress. And I don't see the insights or anything, but it's just my thoughts.
Yeah. And of course, do you know much about sort of the current managerial side that they have, Revs and Dean Wilkins, etc.?
I obviously know them by name. I've never dealt with them in my past at all or anything. I'll come across them. Yeah.
And of course, Alex Ravel is just starting out in managerial, in his first managerial tendency, actually celebrating a year in charge today as well. So just want to say a big, happy anniversary to Revs, because we've got a game in about an hour and a half. Hopefully we can, make it a winning one.
From one of my good friends, actually, a Stevenage fan, Will Pickworth.
Yeah,
we play for the same cricket club. Big shout out to the Turing Cricket Club. And I was surprised that Stevenage bringing in Dino again. Very, very surprised. I thought it was a step backwards. And everything that I now speak to Picky about, when we do speak about it, seems positive with Alex Ravel. And I can see that just from outside. I think it seems a lot more positive. Seems to be doing the right thing, and I'm sure that his leadership that will keep on moving forward. But once again, have to stick with it as a club. Through when it isn't going great, and hoping that he can be the right person to further push up the leagues.
And of course, the club have remained in the Football League as well. And how important is that for Stevenage to remain a league club? And of course, it was dealt a very lucky hand, possibly, to some people maybe last season, in terms of the Macclesfield situation. And how important is it now to not be in that situation again?
Well, no, I actually went on loan to Macclesfield when I was at Norwich, so I know the club. I was there for a month and a half. It was a bit of a shambles because the manager changed over, etc. But it was the luckiest card you could have got. That let's not beat around the bush. It was. But Macclesfield were for a number of years messing around with money, so they had to get punished. So you can look at it being like, okay, look, we got lucky, yeah, 100%. But Macclesfield were messing around. It was a bit of a shambles how it was run. And I do wish them all the best as well in trying to create. They've been, a football club for years. So to actually, set up properly. And I think the Football League wants clubs like Stevenage that are run well, rather than clubs that are just messing around with players' payments and everything. They do have to be punished. It's not how you run, a football club.
And of course, talking about running a football club, what were your dealings with Phil Wallace like?
To be honest, I didn't have too many with Phil. He would come to the training ground every now and again, would say hello. So yeah, didn't really have much at all, really. I think what he has done with Stevenage is really good. From where they were. Do I think could get better? 100%. So all clubs could get better. And being my local club, I want to see Stevenage as high as possible. I want to be, if I've got a free weekend or a free evening, to be going and seeing them against, if they were in League One, the Sunderlands, the Ipswich. If it's against Morecambe, I probably may watch the Champions League on TV. So I want to see them do well. I really do.
And of course, that's from not just from a fact that you played there, but your dad's played there, and it's a whole family really. So of course you want to see the club do well. When I was going through a bit of research, they were saying in regards to any future, sort of kids of yours playing for the club, would that be anything possible in the future to kind of follow suit?
I have to speak to the missus first. No, it's look. I'm massive on phone's ringing. Massive on like kids developing and as players, and I do think Stevenage community department is very, very good. I'm going to be looking in the not so near because of COVID future, but in the near future at setting up like a disability hub.
Okay.
Because I've got a couple of young cousins who are autistic and can't play, and I would like to speak to Stevenage, about maybe using it with them, because I've got my coaching badges and I want to give back, and I know Dom wants to give back to the local community, and Stevenage being the local club, it's sort of interlinks, and I want to give those opportunities to kids that maybe don't get to play football because of their disability. And it's tough to clubs to be all inclusive. Yeah. But okay, what about us creating a hub that is all inclusive, so the kids that want to play can play, and that's maybe a conversation that I have with Phil Wallace or whoever it may be at the club further down the line. That okay, we want to set this up. We can align partner with Stevenage.
And that's a great idea as well, not just for getting them to play football, but even for people going to games as well, and kind of having that sort of social interaction, kind of run the two alongside each other, get them to games, and of course have them, maybe even see if you can use Sheffield or whatever or something like that as a sort of location. Yeah.
No, 100%, and if you can use all of the, let's say people around and the community around, and give the young kids the opportunity to go and do that, then that is fantastic. And like you said, getting them to the games, they want to go to the games, what's the access like, how can we get them to it? And that just drives, because they go, they then fall in love. And who do they fall in love with? They fall in love with Stevenage. So they want to go every single week, and you're then building it out, and you're creating that further community spirit, which is great, and which all local clubs, should aim for. And we'll have to see. It's something that I want to do, something that I've had to put on the back burner because of COVID. And hopefully towards the end of this year, discussions can move on with that.
And of course, that would be a fantastic thing to do there as well. So, of course, we touched on that there. So, upon sort of leaving Stevenage, have you sort of remained in a playing capacity? So, did you say you were still playing non-league or anything like that? Or?
Yes, since I left Stevenage, I signed for Farnborough. I still had the hopes of getting back into the full-time game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that didn't materialise. Only down to myself. I can only blame myself for that. And I've played for a few non-league clubs in Wealdstone, Farnborough, Wealdstone, St Albans, Biggleswade, and Hendon. And I love the non-league game now. Absolutely love it. I love the being able to sort of go into the bar afterwards, which the full-time game, you don't really get that. We can speak to the fans, we can have a beer. It's not frowned upon, and that interaction with the fans is great. And that's why I love non-league, and I'm a big advocate for non-league. And for as long as I can play in it, I will, because I still love playing football. I may be a little bit fatter and a little bit slower than what I used to be, but I still want to play. I still want to enjoy it. And whenever that day comes that I have to hang up the boots, it'll probably be a sad day. So for that reason, and for COVID, it's a great thing to be like, that's why I want to do it for as long as possible, because you don't know what may happen.
Absolutely. And then of course you've already got yourself involved in the agency world there as well. So was that something you'd, look at maybe continuing on with? Is that something you want to do afterwards as well, when you actually hang up your boots? Yeah,
100%. That's going to be my career now, working with sports professionals. And the company that I've set up with my business partner it's obviously about developing the players on the pitch as footballers, but off the pitch as well. Everyone thinks, and all they see is a footballer at 3:00 on a Saturday, but there's a lot of work that goes in throughout the week. them training, but there's also a lot of free time that they have, and how can we help them to fill that free time, or what they do in their free time, what more can they do with that? So if they like, playing the guitar, how can we get, that, is it social media driven, or, can we get them to do, golf lessons or their coaching badges, whatever it may be? How can we do that? Because the problem that I have with the professional game, and I've been through it, is that you can sort of finish training at 1 o'clock every day and you have nothing to do. All of your friends are at work, or you're miles away from your family and friends.
Yeah.
So, and you hear a lot of the gambling, the drinking that goes on, because there's nothing else to do. So
actually, what I will say, touching on that as well, in regards to obviously finishing training at that sort of earlier time, there's certain players at Stevenage like Tom Pett and Elliot Liss who have now gone into the Twitch world, and they kind of stream on the back of training. They'll go back and they'll interact with fans on an evening sometimes in their Twitch channels, which is kind of a nice little platform for people to interact there as well.
100%. I know Petty. Petty, he's a great lad, Petty, to be fair. Really nice. And 100%. And that's what, he can get home and he can go on that and interact with fans, with fellow Twitchers, and it's to try and work out what works for the certain person. Not everyone's going to be into golf. Not everyone's going to be into Twitch. Not everyone's going to be into gaming. Not everyone's going to be into social media. What's wrong with wanting to read a book or do a degree or play an instrument? Yeah. What else can the players do? And to push them on that, because there's always this preconception from clubs and, let's say, managers maybe even, of they've just got to be fully 100% focused on football. Well, no, because not everyone's 100% fully focused on their job. Obviously, that's the main important thing, but there's a lot more to life and to people, about their home life, social life, education. So, what more can the players do outside of the game? We all want to make sure our brains are still working. So, if someone is intellectual, can we push them to do, a degree or a journalistic degree, whatever it may be? That trying to realise that footballers, that isn't just their whole life. It's a massive part of it, but there are other things. And if they do want to do other things, clubs and managers should support that as well. And I think that needs to be changed a little bit more. And
that kind of goes on to Russ's question a bit as well about, would you ever consider going into coaching or sort of any punditry work even maybe as well?
I've done my UEFA B coaching, really enjoy the coaching. I set up a coaching company when I did actually finish full time, and I think I had the biggest soccer school in Hertfordshire.
Okay.
We had sort of 70, 80 kids throughout the half terms and Easter breaks, etc. And really, really enjoyed it and really liked my coaching. Honestly, it was a lot of hard work and you don't get paid that well for it. So for a long-term career, it wasn't for me. But I think I would like to go into non-league coaching, and hopefully when I have kids, I would love to coach their team. But I would never close the doors to it, and that's why I've done my UEFA B. Punditry, I think I've got the face for radio, so maybe we might have to look at that.
Maybe you could join mine and Russ's football commentary channel that we run part-time as well. Maybe you could come and join that.
You have to email the details.
I might well do. But let's just see if there's anything else I wanted to cover in regards to your short spell with Stevenage. But let's see what else there was, if there was anything else. What advice would you give to someone who, might be looking at coming through an academy and wants to get into the into a side themselves and sort of make a name for themselves?
See, it's very easy for me to say to a player, train your hardest, play your best, work hard in every session, whatever it may be. Sometimes that may not be enough. Sometimes you may not get the luck you need. So, obviously that they are what you have to do, but you always have to, and it's hard to say to a young player who only dreams of playing in the Premier League or playing professional football about having other options. And because of my situation, I can relate to it a lot more. Do your education. Even when I was doing my GCSEs and I knew I had a scholarship at Norwich, my mum and dad pushed me to do that. Don't just forget about your education. When I went to Norwich, I'd done the extra bits I had to at college, to get a higher diploma or whatever it was. And I think, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Try your hardest at it, but don't beat yourself up if it doesn't go right. And make sure that you do, follow, with your education. Because
was there like a scheme that they basically had with Norwich, like the F Coast scheme, anything like that, where they kind of would kind of support you alongside your sort of the studying side of it as well?
So all of these schemes are obviously involved with the club, but the actual scholars are on that scheme as well. So because you have to do some education from 16 to 18. Yeah. So they're all the clubs will have, and all the scholarship, apprenticeships will have to do it. So, and on that, don't just be. I've heard, we all had to do a sports one. We all had to do, and it's just like it's that let's all just make them do the sports thing. It's all easy. We can all. No, what about if you want to do A levels? One of the lads at Norwich, Tom Adeyemi, who now plays, I think at Ipswich. I don't know.
Yeah.
He done 3 A levels. And, he's always got that to, don't just settle for just doing the basics, I would say. Is if you are intellectual, maybe do some A levels or do the extra course, because you're going to have a lot of free time. What more can you do? They always say in football, you're one bad injury away from retirement. It's a negative way to think, but it's not as well if you just think of it as, what else can I do with my life outside of football? And
they're all right if they play for Stevenage. They could just come and have an hour on this channel, but there you go. But what are your thoughts on the games without crowds as well? And, was that something that you took part in yourself? Did you play any games behind closed doors?
I've played loads of games where there's not been many fans. I think it's been interesting because you see the likes of West Ham doing well without fans. You see some teams, maybe like Liverpool, that need fans in the stadium. It's hard to judge because, unfortunately, it is what it is. The players seem to have adapted to it. Okay, it took a bit of getting used to. Now it just feels like normal. Watching, I don't expect to see a fan at a game now, which is mental to think, isn't it? But hopefully in the new season we'll get fans back, and who knows? Everyone's under the same constraint. It's not like there's half fans in for some teams and half not. With the tiered system, it sort of got like that, which I thought.
It was a bit unusual, wasn't it? Yeah, it didn't really work. Yeah. Yeah,
and it's now trying to see what how you just got to adapt to it. Unfortunately, you've got to get on with it, and I can't see us having fans in this season. But hopefully,
I think everybody announced that that's the case. Yeah.
Hopefully, from next season, that there will be. So we'll see how it gets on.
So who were your sort of role models? And of course, you mentioned there that you're a Man United fan as well yourself. So was there anyone that you kind of modelled your game on at all?
Sorry, 1 second.
All right.
Sorry, I just had a few calls, kept them coming in. I was like, what's going on here?
I was just saying there in regards to, you mentioned that you're a Man United fan, and I was just saying was there any sort of role models in the United side that you used to sort of look up to?
My favourite player ever was always Zidane. With Man United, I always admired Paul Scholes, obviously, because he was just that small player that was quite technical, and I was always a technical player. I wasn't sort of a Roy Keane-esque or anything like that. I always looked at him, but you always looked at the England team and Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard. But for me, Zidane was always someone that I wanted to play like. Never ever played anything like him, but yeah, I did look up to him.
And of course, he was a fantastic player. Everyone knows the name Zidane, don't they? When you talk to anyone that knows about football and loves football, it's a name that everyone knows from his time at Real Madrid, his internationals, even his time managing Madrid as well. Like, everyone knows Zidane and knows the kind of player that he was and how good he was. Yeah.
Yeah, he was just, to me, the best player. Just easy on the eye, silky. Had a bit about him. You saw. I know the headbutt wasn't ever the right thing to do, but for me, he chipped a penalty in a World Cup final.
I know that anyone that does that is something special. Yeah.
To have the balls to do that is unbelievable, and I just thought he was a special player. And you see, even from his, he won the Champions League 3 years in a row. It's never been done before. So to then go and do that, he's a pretty special sort of person in football.
Absolutely, very very much so, very talented player. So we've got some more questions, only a couple more actually, really. And of course, you mentioned earlier in regards to the community side of things and the work that the club have done there with the sandwich deliveries and everything like that. So how important is that for a club like Stevenage to actually be able to give back and actually just how good is that to get everybody involved on that side of players, managerial staff, like all over, PA, everybody was involved.
I think for me, I come from quite a big family, so I've always had people in the house, round the house, family holidays. There's always just seems to be people there. So coming, my mum's one of 8, my dad's one of 5. There, I've got 30, 40 first cousins. And I'm big on that family community feel, like being around people. And I think giving people that maybe don't have that, maybe, in family life, home life, that sense of community, so that, and I think it's a massive thing of making it a day out, especially for football clubs. Don't just get fans to come for the game and then shoot off. What more can you do before the game, during the game, after the game, so that for a young kid it's a day out. For the old man that just loves going and watch football, he gets to go and see a few mates and have a pint or so afterwards, before, whatever it may be, and it's his day out. Give fans something to look forward to, and I think it's the whole experience. People sell and companies sell on day experiences in London or whatever it may be. Why not do that as clubs? It's not just the 90 minutes of a football game, which is the main attraction. What else is there? And I played in America for a little bit, and it was mental, the whole day experience. Everything seemed to be sponsored, and that's where they got the money for, to do everything. Everything was endorsed, but make it a day out. What else can you do? The competitions, and reaching out to the community is massive. And I'm still surprised when I do see, and I haven't been involved in it, but why are there empty seats at Stevenage games? Why isn't there more school kids there? So,
yeah, that's a fair shout as well. And of course, when fans come back in, I do believe that there'll be, a real buzz around the town in general, not just the football club, and there'll be a lot of new faces at the ground, even a lot of old faces returning that haven't been for years and have been supported by the club during this time. And yeah, it's going to be, I do believe it's going to be a very positive time, getting everyone back into the stadiums again, and hopefully, fingers crossed, still a Football League 2 club as well. And then everyone can, as we said earlier, really kind of push on and, move forward.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. No, I really, really, hope that the people that have been helped can get in the stadiums. That would be fantastic. And, wanting to see the average call it? Average.
The average attendance basically increased. Yeah,
that's what I was looking for. The basic word, attendance. Increase, because I think people do buzz off people as well. So the more people there, the louder it is, the better it is, the better experience. When you do go there and it's quiet and everything. And I went to a Stevenage game a couple of years ago. I think it was against Grimsby, and it was 0-0.
Okay, yeah.
And it was so boring because there wasn't many people. Stevenage were down near the bottom. There wasn't many people there. The football wasn't attractive. And, I didn't go back. Normally because I had football, anyway myself.
Yeah.
But, getting people to want to go back because of the buzz and maintaining that, and which I think American sports do. Like I went to watch a baseball game. Most boring sport in the whole world. You can't even really see the ball. People miss hit it, but it was an evening out or a day out, and you'd go and get your hot dogs, your beer.
I was going to say, if it's anything like the Super Bowl, they have a break every 15 minutes. So.
It's not for watching the sports there, but it's all about the socialising as well. And I just really enjoyed going to the baseball because it was like, let's go to baseball. It's quite cheap, $10 tickets. You get a couple of beers, you get a hot dog, you get you have a laugh, and you get to watch some sport as well, which is great. And I do think English sport in general will need to grow that way to keep on, especially with the money in football these days, to keep that money coming in somehow. Then there needs to be maybe a bit of a change.
And of course, that's a fair point as well in regards to the Americans. The Americans just love it, don't they? In general, whatever they do, they throw their heart into everything. But it's going to be great. I believe it's going to be great when fans are allowed back in, just with the whole new stand and stuff behind that goal as well. I do believe that's going to have quite a big impact. Yeah,
well, it looks fantastic from the outside. They got the new bar underneath it.
76 bar. Yeah.
Which I think will be great for fans to meet up before, after the game. I think that is completely the right direction. And everyone will be buzzing to get back into stadiums. That first match day, and let's make it special. And that's for every club. Let's make it, and then. Like anything, you don't want it to get. You got to then keep it bright and keep it, fans excited about coming and different things, and don't just be like, they're coming now. They'll come forever. No, they won't. How can clubs make sure that fans just want to come? Want to support the team, and even gain more fans. Mm-hmm. So I think it'd be great for fans going back into the ground at Stevenage to experience that, and I think it will drive attendances up. But then trying to increase that will be a tough challenge, but something that can be achieved easily. Not easily, but can be achieved over time if worked at.
And of course, you've got that different atmosphere on the East Terrace as well. When what's that like to play in front of that East Terrace on a Tuesday night, and of course, the buzz that everyone from the East Terrace can bring, because they bring a real different kind of atmosphere that you don't really see an awful lot of at many other grounds.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great atmosphere, and I love playing in front of it. The couple of times I did, I actually, I think the most fans were there when we played against Tottenham in pre-season. Yeah. And it does, and if you can get that, loud and buzzing, it just helps, and it does intimidate other, teams. It really, really does. So, to see that, being as loud and vibrant as what it can be, but it has to be, every game. It can't just be if the team are doing well. It's probably more important when the team isn't doing well.
That's very true, and of course that's that's probably going to wrap it up. Actually, let's just have a look if there was anything else. I don't think there was.
Enough of me by now.
No, not at all. It's been great fun. It's been very insightful and very good to chat to you actually as well. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I appreciate you.
And of course, we'll kind of. There was that one question there, which I will ask actually as well, because I don't want to not give that person their sort of fair share of the airtime. So, what advice would you give to your younger self in regard to the direction that your career was going to go into?
Good question. It's a good question. I think if I was to look at myself, and I've got now a great insight to what I've done. I think it wasn't just completely down to me, but I could have worked a lot harder, been a lot more focused, and I thought I had made it. I'd made it as a professional footballer, but I didn't have that next level. I made it as a professional footballer, but what was my next task? To make 10 appearances, 20 appearances, 50, 100. I stopped, and I'd always been on an upwards trajectory. And once I got to that, it's a sharp fall, and I didn't keep on pushing myself or working, as hard as what I should have. And that's just over the years, getting old, getting grey hair, that you look back and you realise.
You're probably younger than me. I'm sure you are.
But trying to tell a young player that, it's hard. And, I wasn't honest with myself, in my younger years. And, now I can be. But it would be to work harder and to not just be happy with what you achieve, to always strive to achieve more. And I think it summed up well is that you see a lot of teams get relegated when they say, we just want to, stay up for the year. We just want to finish 17th. Well, if you miss that by one place, you finish 18th and you get relegated. Yeah. Why not say we want to come 10th? Because if you miss that by one place, you come 11th. So try and aim higher. And I never aimed high enough to what I achieved what I aimed and stopped. And that's a little bit of a regret for me. But we live and we learn. And that's probably the answer to that.
All right. And thank you, Darren, as well. I said good watch and listen. So thank you for all of that. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. I am going to leave it there now, Matt. That was the last one. I'm going to go and get some dinner and stuff. And just thank you for joining and taking some time out. And it's been good, good fun. And I've enjoyed catching you, mate, and speaking to you. So
no worries. I appreciate the time. Enjoy your evenings.
Cheers. Thanks a lot. And of course, Stevenage, we've got a game in about an hour as well against Crawley away. So fingers crossed we'll get a win. I'm going to go and watch that one. So hopefully we'll be able to pick up from losing against Bolton at the weekend. Yeah.
Excellent. Perfect. Cheers, Mike.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Bye, mate.